Lately, I've been sitting with something that's uncomfortable, yet clarifying, and I'd say honestly overdue. And that's that I'm realizing that I'm not burned out. I'm not lost and I'm not behind. I'm in between paradigms. And I'm recognizing that there are certain rooms that I just no longer fit in. I recently attended a gathering of Black actresses. It was well-intentioned, supportive, familiar, and yet I left feeling unexpectedly empty. I enjoyed the early part of reconnecting, meeting new-to-me Black actresses, catching up with people I hadn't seen since the lockdown, seeing my beloved friends. It felt safe, non-performative. Then the conversation shifted to auditions, self-tapes, pensions, verticals, and industry tactics. All valid, all real stuff that we always talk about, right? But as I listened, something quietly unsettling became clear. I wasn't part of the conversation anymore. Not because I didn't belong, but because I'm in a different relationship with this industry now. I noticed it in my body before my mind caught up. It's like this tightness in my stomach when there wasn't space to speak. It's like an anxiety when the conversation moved quickly. It never left the depth of what I come to understand about this industry and where I actually stand in it. I wanted to talk about being on hiatus. And to be clear, the facilitator lovingly opened the floor for that discussion. But it wasn't my version of hiatus. It wasn't about needing rest. I wanted to talk about anger, the things that led me to the hiatus in the first place. About opting out of hustle as a value system, opting out of pleasing and impressing employers at the cost of self-respect, about being vocal when something inappropriate or disrespectful happens on set. There's an interview with Toure, the journalist, where he asked Malcolm Jamal Warner, may he rest in peace, what he hates about acting. And Malcolm says the politics. He talks about the rejection not being about you not bringing your A game, but an emotional rejection of employers. I liken it to how actors are expected to always be polite, always be agreeable, because the moment that we advocate for ourselves, we risk being labeled difficult. And that's the conversation that I really wanted to have. But as I waited for an opening, we ran out of time. And in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't force it because it's possible that that room wasn't built to hold the level of honesty I was about to bring. So instead of pushing a lone wolf topic, I stayed quiet. And then that's when I realized I had outgrown rooms where we don't talk about the parts of this industry that actually hurt. And while I'm using that room as an example, it wasn't just that room. I also started noticing that there's the same pattern in my personal life, in my friendships, in familiar conversations, in the difference between dreams that get talked about and dreams that get acted on. I realized how I've allowed myself to stay in safe and easy places, not because those people aren't kind or creative or well-meaning, but because staying there didn't require me to fully stretch. I didn't have to move faster. I didn't have to decide more clearly. I didn't have to risk outgrowing the room. Complacency. There's a comfort in being around people who talk about wanting more while still living inside what's familiar. And I'm guilty of it. And I had to be honest with myself. I chose those spaces too. Because as long as everyone stayed in possibility, no one had to confront execution. I also need to say this part out loud because it's connected. Staying in those safer spaces didn't just affect my thinking, it affected my life materially. I am in a season of financial instability. I have an uncomfortable amount of debt, and this isn't my first time navigating it. But what feels different now is my age. There's less margin for autopilot, more consequence for delay. And yes, there are the moments where I've asked myself, did I wait too long to wake up? Did I miss a window? But that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is that I'm seeing clearly now. And clarity doesn't arrive on a polite, convenient schedule. People often look at me and assume I've always had it together. And in many ways, I have. But I'm also human. I've made choices that prioritize comfort over momentum. I've tolerated stagnation longer than I have. And this reckoning, it feels heavier now because I'm 55. And because being an aging actress comes with a cultural narrative of being put out to pasture. And that creates a deeper awareness of what's at stake and of time. This is my third time navigating debt, and I say that without shame. But I also know that this will be my last time, because this is not me numbing or outsourcing my authority. I'm awake, and I'm willing to build from where I actually am, not from where I wish I had been. Here's what I'm learning. People who fantasize but don't execute, don't challenge you. They don't require you to fully commit, and they don't mirror back what you're capable of. For a long time, those spaces left me safe, familiar, social. But safety without movement becomes stagnation. And stagnation is expensive. It costs me time, energy, eventually self-respect. And I'd say these realizations come alongside a very visible choice of me no longer coloring my hair, going salt and pepper. It's not a rebellion. It's alignment, because I don't want to negotiate with an industry about how I should age correctly. I want to stand where I actually am. And that choice clarified everything else, including which rooms can no longer see me clearly. I won't romanticize this part. My finances are tight. I don't know where the next check is coming from. I'm applying for work and jobs while building my own platforms. But I think the difference is I'm no longer asleep. I'm no longer passive. I'm simplifying my life. I'm creating content with intention. I'm seeking a team that understands my value as I am. And I'm holding a balance of realism and optimism that doesn't require collapse, but compression. And we all know what happens to compression. It gives strength to things, diamonds and coal. If you're in a season where old rooms feel loud, new ones haven't appeared yet, you're not failing. You may just be in between ecosystems. And sometimes the work isn't to find the room. It's to become someone who can stand firmly in the next one when it arrives.